I want to invite the Tullys up here, Dave and Anne, to come up and just share for a minute. They got to go to Greece just a week ago. They went to Caesarea, and I want to just have you tell us a quick story about what it was like to be over there where Paul walked.
Okay, this is not about Caesarea. Reed had asked me about a God moment while we were gone. And there were several. But I think the most visible God thing was the day before we left, I had gone to King Super to get our malaria meds. And I got them and I left. And I immediately went to Denver to pick up the other guy that was going to go with us, because he was going to come spend the night with us, and then we would all fly out in the morning. So I get home at 10 o'clock that night, and I'm packing everything, and I open the malaria meds, and there's only one prescription. And I'm going, oh my, now what do we do? So after we got to Africa, I called King Super and I said, hey, where is David's prescription? You only gave me one. And we talked back and forth, and she said, well, would you like to talk to the head pharmacist? And I said, realistically, what's he going to do? He's going to apologize, but I'm in Africa, and that doesn't help me. And so the next morning we got up, and I was talking to the lady who is our liaison between Sim and the people that we were working with. And she said, well, let's talk to, there's somebody in the office that was taking malaria meds. Let's go talk to him and see what he did. And we told him the story and what we were taking, and he said, well, I was taking that, and it bothered my stomach, and so I have some. Let me check and see how much I have. And the next morning, here comes his wife with a full prescription, and they charged us $15, where mine was almost $100.
Wow.
So just an example of God's providence all the way through. I mean, there were so many occasions where I just had to say, Lord, we're in your hands, and I know you're in control. I have no idea what's going to happen.
Well, Anne didn't mention it, but because of bronchitis, it turning into a lung infection and a history of asthma, she ended up in the hospital in a third world country for 3.5 days on an IV with antibiotics and stuff. So God was kind of there, because in a third world country, it would be easy to actually succumb to something that, like she had, a lung infection. But in keeping with willing to give your testimony and stuff, it wasn't a testimony, but in the Rome airport, struck up a conversation and ended up witnessing my faith to this young man. His name was Alessio, which is Alexio, and my daughter's Alexia, but anyway. For about 2.5, 3 hours, talking about things about the faith and about Christ and about the resurrection. And, he actually brought up that, the idea of speaking to angels unaware, and it turned out that he spoke English because he'd been in London for a while and had come back, and he'd been in monastery for 2 years seeking to become a monk. And he was heading back to Ireland to learn more about cooking and stuff so he could go back, I guess, and serve. But it was like, okay, I went out on a limb, I witnessed to somebody, and I was witnessing to the choir. But it was still awesome.
Okay.
Caesarea, when Rome was destroyed by the Romans in 79 AD, Caesarea, they call it Caesarea, became the capital of Israel. And so we got to go there, and it's interesting because over time, the ruins of one thing, another civilization would build, then those would be ruined, another civilization would build. But you could, walking through the ruins, because they're restoring what they can, with people haven't made off with the stones for building their own house somewhere else. But it was awesome, and people know me, and I talk too much, but Anne had texted to her son that, we got to walk where Paul walked. And he texted back, oh, did you get to walk where Ringo walked? It's like, Anne responded with a groan. And his response was, oh, you're married to David, and you're groaning at my jokes? But anyway, we got to
Paul
see
and Ringo
these
from
things.
the Beatles.
Yes.
Got it.
And one other highlight of the trip was at the Western Wall of the Great Temple. We both got to pray and actually put a prayer for the church in the wall, the Western Wall. So it was a wonderful trip. We had tons of experiences, and thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you. Yeah.
It was awesome. They're excavating down and down and down and down, and there's just more ruins and more ruins and more ruins. And got to walk out on one of those breakwaters, and it's amazing. And it's way away from anything else. It was like a 2-mile walk to get there from the bus stop. They just drop you off at the highway, and you're on your own.
If you want to hear more stories from Dave and Ann,
Oh, yeah.
we'll have you hear them downstairs. We'll.